Okay, so today we are going to be working with a 2001 Chrysler Sebring. Now these are really large photos, so the first thing I do is crop each of them. We'll just do the front blueprint for now. Get them cropped to where you can actually work with them relatively lightly. Then this right here is the center position photo, and this is the left position. It's aligned with the left side of the car because it's looking at you, and it's aligned right here, and this side is like that in perspective, so its vanishing point is somewhere in here. This one, the vanishing point is right about here, right in the middle of the car. So we're going to be combining these two to create the vanishing point line in the center of the car on this one. So this is the usable part of the image, and then the vanishing point on this one is up in here, so this is the usable part of the image. And we're going to be mirroring this over to the right side of the vehicle, and that's going to reduce the perspective and turn this into a front blueprint, because we don't have a blueprint photo that is for the right side of the vehicle. So let's get started. The first step is just to take this photo and copy it to this photo, and then that will combine. Then we'll combine them with turning the one we just pasted into 50% opacity and lining them up with a common detail, and I'm going to use this Chrysler logo on the hood. And you can check your details by hiding. I'm switching layer to layer like this and using the arrow keys to fine-tune the details. So now they're lined up as best as possible, and I'm using free transform, dragging the gizmo to the center of that logo, and that will be used to rotate. I'm using the free transform, and I'm going to use that to rotate and scale until things like these headlight areas line up with each other. Optimally, everything will line up, and this much scale is okay because it's a curved car. You don't necessarily need or want those to line up. You just want things to be on the same horizontal, not the same vertical, if that makes sense. Because see, this perspective of that curve wraps around. You don't see the tips of my finger right now, but here you do. That's why things lining up like that don't matter. Just as long as, like, see, if I were to zoom in here, this isn't on the same level as that. So that's what we're trying to correct here. So let's just rotate it just a little bit more until they're lined up on both sides. Now let's zoom in to visualize. And that looks about as accurate as we can get for now. So now we're going to use layer masks to come in, and we'll start out by using a black color and hiding this part of the vehicle, anything that doesn't line up. And as you can see, our vehicle is starting to become more blueprint-like, but it's a fairly limited photo. How I'm going to compensate with that is to copy, Control A and then Control Shift C. That copy's merged, and now I'm going to paste a new photo. Something to note is that the car itself isn't even. So I'm going to have to go into free transform yet again and rotate the car until the headlights is what I'm using to line it up. They need to match up to the guide that I just placed. So the bottom of that headlight's on that guide, and it's just slightly above that guide, so I need to rotate it just a little bit more. And there we go. So now that's lined up. Now I'm going to duplicate this layer and free transform and flip horizontal. And that is going to be our other side. We'll use this very selectively. And of course we have to line up that logo again because it's not in the right position because I cannot crop exactly 100% correctly by eye. Okay, there we go. It's the exact midpoint. So now we can put a layer mask on here, and I usually Control I to invert, so that'll completely hide it. That way we come in and we can just brush in only the areas that we actually need to see to get the blueprint perspective free. So just brush this in, and I usually just try and hide the tire there. Zooming in on the hood, there's some minor issues that should be resolved. And again, you're only showing this just where you need it. It would be overkill to show the entire thing. So that is almost our final result. There's a couple more tweaks that I'm going to do, and I mean, this is just a personal nitpick thing here. You can get rid of that, but I mean, that's part of the window. That's not necessary. And the biggest thing is to look at the hood, or the trunk, the roof, and make sure that that curvature is as nice as it can look. And that looks pretty decent. You have to check all the line work on the car just to make sure that there's no double lines, which if there were, you'd have to redo them. Like, that would be a double line right there. You don't want that. Okay, so that's a good blueprint. Let's put that off to the side. And that is about as much video length as I'm going to go into on this one. Next up is going to be the challenge of, we have this side blueprint which was obscured by this conveniently placed light pole. Or rather, they parked bad, so I couldn't do that. So that's going to be a challenge of taking this photo and putting that onto the rear of the car. But that's in the next video.